what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Black and Red Builds channel. I'm Cewysolo, and today we got a new build from our good friends over at CubicFun 3D Puzzle. They're a company that's on Amazon mostly, where you buy their products at. I'm building the Queen Anne's Revenge, and this is it right here. Check that out. Holy cow, that's cool. Now, they sent me this a few weeks ago, and I'd been just waiting to build this because I love pirate ships and things like that. I just love the mystique of it, the way it was, you know. I mean, the life on a pirate ship had to be something else, right? And the captain, who had this whole section right here, I mean, he had it made compared to everybody else who slept in like hammocks and swings just right up next to each other down here in this part of the ship. Holy cow, what a life that had to be. When you lived on a ship like this, you know, whether you were actually, you know, military or a pirate that took one of these ships like Blackbeard or something. And I mean, the life on these ships had to be something else. That's all I got to say, you know, living with the rats and everything, insane. But holy cow, look how cool this looks. I mean, if you're a fan of like Pirates of the Caribbean, the movies and the ride, I mean, this would definitely pique your interest right here. It reminds me of like the Black Pearl, right? I just love this. They actually have this one also in red. They have a bunch of different ships, guys. They've got the Titanic. They've got the Flying Dutchman with all ghostly looking and everything. Here, I'll show you real quick. Here we go. So yeah, so they have like the Flying Dutchman, which is right here. They have this same one, the Queen Anne's Revenge, in red. They got the Titanic. Look at all these different ships they have. Also, they got different iconic buildings. Like right here is the St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York. Over here, we have the Notre Dame de Paris. We've got the Empire State Building. We have the Colosseum looking the way it would have looked in its grandeur. Very cool, man. Look at all these cool models. Holy cow. Eiffel Tower. We got different scenes. Check this one out with the big wheel. So cool, man. They got so much stuff. Holy cow. I mean, they've got space stuff. They got NASA rockets, the shuttle here. So many cool things. Statue of Liberty, the Eiffel Tower. They've got it all. And these are, I believe these are like a foam board. Now, if you've been following me for a while, I built a R2-D2. In fact, he's right here. This R2-D2 is not the same company, but this R2-D2 is a cardstock model. Very cool. He still looks as good as the day that I built him, which is, I don't know, a year, 2 years ago, something like that. Fantastic model. It looks amazing, and it's made out of cardstock, like, you know, like paper, basically, like thin cardboard. And this one here, I believe, is made out of kind of the same, like a foam board, like a thin foam board. I believe it's what these are made out of. And this, though, has LED lighting in it. So it lights it up down here. You see where the cannons are. You know, the captain's quarters here all lit up. Super cool. And yeah, again, guys, that's CubicFun 3D Puzzles on Amazon. I'll leave a link to this model right here in the description down below, and also I'll leave a QR code right here, so you can just scan that QR code if you're watching this on TV or whatever, and it'll take you right to it. And from there, you can just click their store name on that link if you want to look at some of their other ones. You can just click right here under the description up here. Just click right on this visit the CubicFun store, and it'll take you to where you can look at all the rest of their models. So cool, man. So yeah, without further ado, guys, why don't you guys go ahead and get up top and get your seats so you can get that bird's eye view, and we're gonna go ahead and get this thing open. All right, here we go, guys. Sorry again, this has like a very glossy finish, so sorry about any glare that's on it, but here it is. CubicFun. This is got LEDs in it. It's a magnificent vessel model here. Queen Anne's Revenge Blackbeard ship. So like I said, this is the same ship that Blackbeard took and sailed, and then I think he ended up crashing it off the coast of North Carolina. I believe, if I can remember right, that's what ended up happening to Blackbeard's ship. So Again, guys, any models like this will always have the choking hazard warning to keep this away from children under the age of 3. No tools are required, no gluing, but I did find, like in the cardstock model, I did have a couple of places that it did help to put a little bit of glue. So sometimes just keep your glue close at hand, just in case you might need it on a piece that doesn't stay right. So this is 67.7 centimeters by 25.4 by 64.3 centimeters, which I believe is close to 28 inches by like 17 inches by like 27 inches, something like that. It is a big ship. I believe that's around this size, and it's tall. So this is going to be quite the display piece for you. This is a 8 complexity. I think that's out of 10. And it says the build time is 4 hours on this. We'll see about that. Sometimes these take a little longer, sometimes they take less, so it really depends on how familiar you are with that type of model. 340 pieces. Let's flip this over, see what it shows on the back here. All right, so you can see here, this is in different, you're going to have different cards, like you do in a lot of the models, like in Roker models, or wooden, or MDF, and like I said, that R2-D2 was cardstock. I believe these are a thin foam type material. We'll check that out as soon as we get it open. But basically, you'll go through and you pop the pieces out and you put them together according to the instructions. And that's pretty much how you do it here. Again, like this is a Mississippi steamboat that they have. The San Felipe, the HMS Victory. Isn't this one like docked somewhere in like England or something like that? Like this ship is still around. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and let's crack this thing open. All right, my other knife's not here, so we'll just use this one. And let's cut the tape on this. Here we go. Crack this bad boy open. Okay, so the whole thing opens up. There we are. Check that out. All right, guys, I forgot to tell you, too, whenever you go over, I will put it earlier on when I was showing the QR code, but you can also get a discount code from me, and that is B&R Builds, BANDRBUILDS, and that will give you 10% off. I'll leave the code right down here, and also I will put the code on earlier as well. So, but yeah, that'll get you 10% off. Just use my code, and it'll save you a little bit more money. All right, guys, here's the instruction manual right here. Let's see how that looks. I like to see how good they are. All right, that's pretty cool. You get a little story about the ship. There we go. Edward Teach, as you know, that was Blackbeard's real name. Very cool, man. Look at these pictures. That's awesome. All right, here's the ship as it's built. What a beautiful ship. All right, this is showing our LEDs. I believe that's going to take, it looks like it takes 2 AA batteries. And it looks like the instructions are quite well done. Nice and full color. I like that. Clear, showing your numbers. Now, this is one of those instructions that doesn't say anything. It just shows you the number, and it shows you where it goes. And that's all you need on this type of model. The number, where it goes, you put it on, you move on to the next stage. And we'll just work our way through it until we get to the end. All right, we got the sails and everything. Looks like the last part. And here's some more with the ship. Very, very cool, guys. Let's set that to the side. All right, guys, this right here that was inside there, this is a hole puncher. So what you'll find, just like with the cardstock model, you get a lot of little tabs when you punch it out. Little tabs that you need to pop out the holes, and that's what this is for. You use these little spots on here and punch out the holes, as you can see illustrated right there. So that's what this is the little hole puncher. It's like our LED lights here. Well, you have to get the 2 AA batteries to put in there. And here are all of our boards. And yes, this does feel like it's a foam type of material. So let's get that out of the way, and let's toss this box over into Davy Jones' locker. Ooh, almost got wet. All right, let's take a look at these a little bit closer. Let's get this open. Just kind of want to get a look at these boards to see kind of what they're made out of. All right, so yeah, they are like a lightweight foam board. And as you can see, they're all fully printed. Here we got our statue pieces. Very cool. on both sides printed. Very neat. These are all just numbered, so there's not even really a letter to these. Normally you'll have like board A and then the numbers on that board, board B, the numbers. This is just, looks like it is, they're just all individually numbered parts all the way through. Oh, check this out. Look, guys. Here's the sails. Nice. They have a nice, like, texture. I know you might not be able to see that, but they have a texture that almost feels like it's some kind of cloth. It's not. I believe it's just like maybe a plasticky, papery kind of material. Maybe it's like a plastic type of material, but it feels almost like a cloth. Very cool. All right, guys, now that we know what we're doing, we have our instructions, we got our lights, we got our parts. Let's go ahead and get this build going. right, guys, we are all done building the Queen Anne's Revenge Blackbeard ship, Edward Teach. This model is freaking amazing. I have it way over to the side so you can't see it. Look, if I bring it up over, look at this thing. Now, normally when I set models on my desk, you can't see them even if they're sitting here. But this is quite the model. I'm gonna lift this thing up so you can get a better look at it. Holy cow, look at this. I'm gonna lean way back. Try to get the whole thing in there. Wow. This thing is amazing. Check this out. Let's get up close. Look at this. Get all those cannons. Holy cow. Now, I opted to get the black one because I freaking love how this thing looks in black. Wow. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a little bit of video clips I took of it so you can see how it looks with the lights off and with the lights on. So I'm going to put that in right here. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed those video clips and pictures. Here is the, here it is on its stand. It comes with a stand, as you can see. Very nice. Has a moniker on it, Blackbeard's ship, the Queen Anne's Revenge. Notice the front, the angel there leading the way All right, what I like about models like this, before I get into the build, I like to look at the history. I mean, it's a historical ship, the Queen Anne's Revenge. Blackbeard is probably the most notorious, well-known pirate that ever sailed the Caribbean. Or the Caribbean. How do you say it? Caribbean or Caribbean? I usually say, if I'm talking about the pirates of, it's the Caribbean. But if I'm just talking about the destination, it's the Caribbean. I don't know. That's just how I say it. So anyways, a little research. The one thing, when I first saw this model, I was like, all right, see that flag right there? This is Blackbeard's ship. And so I was a little disappointed that they didn't have Blackbeard's flag. And that's this flag right here. Now, most people know this as being Blackbeard's flag. This is a flag that he flew on his ship so that you knew that that was him, right? Well, wrong. I did a little bit of research and come to find out that this flag here first appeared in I believe it was a 1912 magazine article just about pirates in general. And that's the first time this flag was ever seen. And it wasn't attributed to Blackbeard until years later. So this is not the flag that Blackbeard flew on his ship like I always thought. And I'm guessing a lot of other people thought. The only actual evidence that we have of what Blackbeard's flag looked like was from an article in the 1700s that came out in a newspaper, and it described a attack of the Queen Anne's Revenge, Blackbeard, on a merchant ship. Blackbeard had this was his flagship, and then he had some smaller vessels that would cruise along with him. And the article described his ship as having 40 guns or cannons, and it flew a flag with a death head emblem on it. In other words, a skull, a black flag. And then the smaller ships had blood flags with blood on them, which is something pirates did a lot. They would fly a flag with symbolism of blood on the flags. This flag here, with the skull on it, barring the two crossed sabers underneath, is probably way more accurate to what Blackbeard's flag was than the flag that we all thought was Blackbeard's flag all these years. So the way Blackbeard got this ship was he took it from the French. This was a French ship known as the La Concorde, and it was a naval ship and a slave ship. And the first known sailing of this ship was in 1710, and Blackbeard took this ship in 1717. He only used it and owned it for about 6 months, but that's how infamous this ship became, because he did a lot in those 6 months. And then he eventually grounded the ship near what we know now as North Carolina, and it sank there off the coast. They took the supplies, and I'm assuming maybe some of the cannons off the ship and moved it to the smaller ships and abandoned the Queen Anne's Revenge. The ship was found in the 1900s, 1996, I think it was. They discovered the ship off the coast there, and the ship was said to have 40 cannons on it, but they only recovered 30 cannons. So that makes me either think that it was exaggerated, or they removed some of those cannons after it was grounded. Now, there's only one actual picture of the Queen Anne's Revenge. I wanted to see just how accurate this ship is right here to what the Queen Anne's Revenge actually looked like. Well, when you look it up, you'll find all kinds of models for the Queen Anne's Revenge, and they all look very different. Very different. Almost all of them have a skeleton on the front holding the front of the ship like this, and very, very different, very ornate captain's quarters, real tall and fancy. Well, the only picture that we know is a sketch that was done in 1736. So this is probably someone who actually seen the ship. And that is right here. This is the sketch of that ship. This is the Queen Anne's Revenge. And if you look closely, you'll see that flag flying there on the back. That's where it would have flown, off the back of the ship. And as you can see, it just has a skull on it. Now, in North Carolina, there is a museum there, the North Carolina Museum of History, and they have a model of the Queen Anne's Revenge there, which is probably the closest thing you're going to see to the actual ship. I'll put that picture right here. And as you can see, the flag flying off the back right there. Now that's just a white flag. Now the flag would have been black with that skull on it when Blackbeard owned the ship. And the ship looks completely different than it did when it was the Lock and Cord, because Blackbeard stripped the top section of the ship down, changed it completely. I believe it originally had 16 cannons on it, and he increased it to 40. And yeah, so the ship looked very different in the short time that he had it, because he changed it quite a bit. But this right here is probably the closest you're going to see. And this ship here is pretty close as well. Got the lanterns here on the back. The ship has been shown to have the lanterns. A not as ornate captain's quarters here, but fairly ornate. I do love the look at that. And yeah, this looks a lot like, to me, what it would look like. Got the huge anchors here on the front. Got the angel on the front, not a skeleton, as a lot would say, and a more accurate flag. Now they have it way up at top like that. It would have more than likely been hanging off the back of the ship back here. But yeah, to me, this is a very decent representation of the Queen Anne's Revenge. Albeit I got it in black, it would have been more the colors like you see in this picture right here. It might have been painted a little more ornately, or it might have been just red or brownish looking. I don't think anybody knows what the coloration was it of, since all we have is that little sketch of what it looked like. So anyways, guys, now getting to the build itself. The build of this, it says it was a 4-hour build. This build took me closer to about 8.5 hours, because it's very, very intricate. There's a lot of intricate things to do on this build. I had a ton of fun doing it. It's very, very satisfying when you get the pieces together and they slide together just right. All 3 masts, they look crazy intricate, right? They look like, holy cow, how are you going to get all of that put together? And you learn on the first one the best way to do it. And on the first one, I started at the top and I did all of put the sail and the rigging pieces in the middle. And then afterwards, I did just the sails first. And then I did all the rigging pieces, and that seemed a little bit easier. You can even put those rigging pieces on after you've mounted the mast into the ship. Now the front mast slid in and went right in super easy. The middle one, I had a little trouble finding the holes in there, but finally found it and slid in. And then the back one slid right in as well. So they weren't that difficult to get put on for me. Just make sure you get everything pushed all the way in, all the tabs and everything. And remember that this is a foam core board. It's like paper on the outside and foam core, and you can bend it and very easily or tear it. So, take your time on this. Don't rush. Don't try to get this done in 4 hours. Take as much time as you need. Enjoy the build. I would take breaks on it. I built this over the course of a few days. A couple hours each day until I had it built, and took breaks, ran errands, did things like that. Was always eager though to come back in here and get back to work on it, because I'm the kind of person that will sometimes get into a model and just zone out all day on it. I won't eat, I won't drink, I'll just be in that model. And so take your time on it, guys. And you will have a beautiful result like I did. I have seen people say that they had trouble with these kind of models. I didn't have any trouble with it at all. I think it went together really nicely. Just an absolute beauty of a model. I highly recommend it. Highly, highly recommend it. So yeah, make sure you get over to CubicFun right there. They give you this little card, comes in it, to punch out the pieces. After a while, it'll start to kind of wear out. So you see, I just got me a very tiny screwdriver right here and just start popping the pieces out. In fact, this is probably even easier. Just get you a little thin screwdriver, or maybe a little stick, toothpick, something like that, to pop all those pieces out of the boards. And yeah, ton of fun, guys. I can't recommend this high enough. And again, they have multiple kinds of ships, including the Titanic. And they have castles and churches and just, you know, historic buildings. They have all kinds of really, really cool models over there. So again, get over to the CubicFun 3D puzzle store on Amazon. I will leave a link again down in the description down below. And once again, here's a QR code. So you guys can just snap a picture of that with your phone, take you right to it. And you can have an awesome freaking ship like this. It's absolutely beautiful. And don't forget to use my code. I'll put right here. And that will give you an extra 10% off your purchase. You can't beat that. Get over there and check it out, guys. I appreciate you guys watching. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big old thumbs up. Stroll over there and hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel out immensely. And I'll see you next time. I'm Chewysoloing, and this is Black and Red Builds. See ya.
Woo! Now that is a whole lot of fun right there.